All right, Shalom. Let's start by facing the east. Let's give our praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Let's giving our praises to the Most High, whose true name in ancient Hebrew is Yahweh, and the name of his only begotten Son. His true name in ancient Hebrew is Yahweh Shai, and the Holy Spirit, which in the ancient Hebrew is the Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders of GMS who taught us this truth by the Holy Spirit. Honors to the brothers risking their life and freedom, preach the gospel, peace and blessings to the elect, which would be the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, who make up the lost 12 tribes of Israel, according to scripture and according to prophecy. The elect would be 1/3 of the Israelites, who in the last days will return back to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, to receive salvation, while the 2/3 of Israel who don't turn back to the Most High be destroyed in judgment with America. Be back with another live lesson through the mercy of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. And this lesson is going to be Psalm of Asaph, 74, part 3. So we coming out the book of Psalms 74, which is written by Asaph. And Psalms is not only history, but it's prophetic. And so Psalms is all prophecy as well. So that makes Asaph, as well as King David and the other authors of the book of Psalms, they were all prophets of the Lord. So we're going to pick back up where we left off yesterday, and Lord willing, we'll finish Psalm 74. So this is Psalm 74, starting at verse 18. Remember this, that the enemy have reproached, O Lord, and that the foolish have blasphemed thy name. So the enemy has reproached the Lord, and the foolish enemy have blasphemed the names of the Lord. But again, it says the foolish people. So now you know that the enemies of the Lord who blasphemes his name is not the devil and Satan that's America teaches you in the Christian church. No, this would be people in the world. So again, remember this, that the enemy hath reproached, O Lord, and that the foolish people have blasphemed thy name. So the foolish people, and that don't apply whoever you want to apply it to. Like, they you know, who the foolish people are is specific. Hey, people can do foolishly, but there's actually a nation of foolish people. Yeah, there's a nation of foolish people. Again, it says that the foolish people have blasphemed thy name. Now let's show that there's actually a foolish nation of people. We're going to come to the book of Job, chapter 30 and verse 5. And it say this, let me see. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. So this is going into a certain people's history who were once cavemen, Neanderthals. And this is dealing with Esau Edom, the so-called white man. He's the caveman of the earth. You try to push it on you like we all come from caveman. No, that's his history. While they was in the caves, we had civilizations even thousands of years before they ever existed. All right, it says, among the bushes they brayed, so they didn't even have a language. It said, under the nettles they were gathered together. This is the point, verse 8, they were children of fools. Yeah, children of base men, they were viler than the earth. You see that? They were children of fools. Another word for children would be descendants. Now you know this is a specific nation of people, a specific bloodline that descend from the foolish one. And that foolish one would be Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Because you got to be a fool to sell your birthright. See that? So they were the children of fools. So there's a nation of people that's classified as a foolish nation or a foolish people, or the children of fools. Back to Psalms 74:18. Remember this, that the enemy hath reproached, O Lord, and that the foolish people have blasphemed thy name. Now we know that's Esau Edom, the so-called white man, in which we're going to get Psalm 74 in the NLT real quick. See now how these enemies insult you, Lord. A foolish nation has dishonored your name. See that? In the KJV, it says the foolish people, and you can't just apply it whoever you want to apply it to, like it can apply to anybody. Because we got Job, it said the children of fools. In the NLT, Psalm 74:18, it said a foolish nation. That foolish nation would be Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Now we're going to show that even in the scriptures, it said that that foolish nation, Esau Edom, will blaspheme the names of the Lord. So we're going to come here to the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 35. We're going to get 2 and 3, and then 12 and 13. So the man set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it, and say unto it, thus says the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee. I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. The Lord says he's going to make Mount Seir the most desolate. Let's see who Mount Seir is. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 36, verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. Verse 9. These are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites, so-called white people, in Mount Seir. So yeah, Esau, Edom, Mount Seir, a foolish people, the children of fools, the wicked, the sword, the dragon, the serpent. That all describes Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. And the Lord said he's going to make him the most desolate. Because the Lord is bringing nothing but judgment and desolation to the nations, even 2/3 of Israel. But Esau would be made the most desolate. Because when you read Obadiah 1 and 18, it said there would be none remaining of the house of Esau. So continuing on, Ezekiel 35, we're going to show that Esau Edom will blaspheme the Lord. The Lord called him out by name. Thou shalt know that I am the Lord, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel. So that's how you blaspheme the name of the Most High. That's how you blaspheme the God of the Bible. When you speak against his people Israel, you ain't got to just speak against the Most High himself. When you speak against his people, you speaking against the Most High. Why? Because he our God, and we his people. It says, I have heard all thy blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate, they are given up soon. How do they say that? They sell us into slavery. They experiment on us. You know, they target us and prosecute us and harass us with their laws and policies. Verse 13, thus with your mouth you have boasted against me, and you have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. So when you speak against the Lord's people, you blaspheme and speak against the Most High himself. Scripture says you're going to be judged by, we all going to be judged by every idle word. The Lord said he heard them all. Scripture say, he who made the ear, can he not hear? Wisdom of Solomon say, the ear of jealousy hears all. So back, Psalm 74, gonna get 18, gonna take that to verse 20. Remember this, that the enemy reproacheth. It says, O Lord, and that the foolish people have blasphemed thy name. Well, the enemy and the foolish people, or that foolish nation, we now know is Esau Edom, the so-called white man. And that makes sense, because who speaks against the people of Israel more than anybody here on the earth? Who speaks against so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans more than anybody else in the earth? Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Goes on to say, verse 19, O deliver not the soul of thy turtle dove unto the multitude of the wicked. God damn, bro. Deliver not the soul of the turtle dove unto the multitude of the wicked. Forget not the congregation of thy poor forever. Have respect unto the covenant, for the dark places of the earth are full of the habitations of cruelty. So we're going to start speaking about blaspheming the name of the Lord. And that's done ultimately when the nations, beginning with Esau, Edom, say, hey, we destroyed, nobody's going to save us, we can't save ourselves, we finished, they're going to exterminate us, King Alfred plan, whatever. That's why it goes into verse 19. It says, deliver not the soul of thy turtle dove into the multitude of the wicked. Hey, who is the turtle dove? That would be Israel, but ultimately, first beginning with the elect. So let's go into that word turtle dove. Because not just anybody can be that turtle dove. You can't just pick up the book as a white Christian Edomite and think you can include yourself in that. So this word for turtle dove, it says as a term of endearment. Now let's look up this word endearment. It says a word or phrase expressing love or affection. See that? So the Lord called Israel, beginning with the elect, a turtle dove, which is a word to express love or affection. Now, who did the Lord say that he loved? Well, we're going to show that. And at the same time, we're going to show who the wicked is. Why Asaph said, deliver not the soul of the turtle dove into the multitude of the wicked. So we're going to show who the turtle dove is and the wicked is, all at the same time. So we're going to come to the book of Malachi, chapter 4. We're going to start at verse 2. Chapter 1 and verse 2, straight to the point. Start at verse 1. The burden of the word of the Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua to Israel by Malachi. So dealing with the prophet Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet you say, wherein hast thou loved us? And that's how Israel feels today. How are we the special people? When has the Lord loved us? When has the Lord protected us? It goes on to say, was not Esau Jacob's brother? That's Esau Edom, the so-called white man. And really, that would be our twin brother. That's where you get the idea in Hollywood, or just fiction in general, the good brother, the evil brother. Goes on to say, and I hated Esau. So the Lord loved Jacob, and he hated Esau. So Jacob, again, would be the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. Esau Edom would be the Edomites, so-called white race today. I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. That's ultimately his fate. Going to be made desolate. It says, whereas Edom's, and how he loved Jacob. That's that turtle dove, which is a term of endearment, a term or a word to express love or affection. So the Lord loves Jacob. That's his turtle dove. Goes on to say, whereas Edom say, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Hey, Esau, Edom failed, but they returned. Thus says the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. The Lord is throwing down Esau, Edom's kingdom today, worldwide. They shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. So they the wicked nation of people in the earth. When you read that term wicked, that's dealing with Esau, Edom, the white man, because it say they the border of wickedness. That word border goes into territory. So anywhere Esau, Edom at, that's the border of wickedness. And why would it be the border of wickedness? Because the wicked himself is there. And we know Job 9:24 say that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So he hates Esau, who is the wicked, but loves Jacob. So back to Psalm 74:19. Oh, deliver not the soul of thy turtle dove. In other words, don't deliver Jacob, the one you loved, into the multitude of the wicked. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Forget not the congregation of the poor forever. So the turtle dove, the congregation of the poor, that's all describes Jacob. I just did a lesson that in the scriptures that the poor and the needy is just it's a nation of people. It's not anybody who classifies themselves as poor and needy in society. But that poor and that needy in the scriptures will be the people of Israel. And when you go into this word poor, it goes into being weak or powerless, not having the power to help yourself or your people, not having the power to save yourself, being weak in society, no political, no social influence, no military power, no economic power. That's what it means to be the poor. As rich as our people is, they got no influence in Western media. They got no influence in foreign affairs or policies worldwide. So we the poor. And no matter how much money you get. But that's why it says, forget not the congregation of thy poor forever. Because it seemed like, the Lord has cast off his people forever. But let's get this. This is the book of Lamentations. Three and 31. For the Lord would not cast off forever. Yeah, the Lord not going to forget us forever. He's not going to just leave us in America to be at the bottom forever. But though he caused grief, how did he cause us grief? Putting us into captivity. Yet he will have compassion. Meaning what? He's going to take you out of captivity according to the multitude of his mercies. Yeah, and his mercies ultimately will fall on Jacob. But in this lifetime, only that remnant, which will be the elect. Shalom to daughter Yahweh. Hey, shalom to whoever else tuning in and will tune in. Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. Barak Allah. Continuing on. Because again, verse 19, it says, deliver not the soul of the turtle dove into the multitude of the wicked. So now we're going to go here, the book of Psalms 41 and 2. Because ultimately, against the poor, against the Lord's turtle dove, against the people of Israel, the wicked has an agenda against us. So we're going to show that in the book of Psalms 41 and 2. And it say this, the Lord will preserve him and keep him alive. He shall be blessed upon the earth, and thou wilt not deliver him unto the will of his enemies. And what's the will of the enemy? What's the will of the wicked against the people of Israel? Well, in the beginning of the verse, the Lord will preserve him and keep him alive. So meaning what? The will of the wicked is ultimately to kill all Israelites. But that's why it says the Lord will preserve him and keep him alive and not deliver him to the will of his enemies. It's not talking about black on black or brown on brown crime. No, this is talking about the agenda that Esau, Edom, the white man, has against the Israelites. Which when you read that in Psalms 83, we're going to get towards the end of the lesson, they want to exterminate us. They're going to wipe us off the face of the earth. Oh, but it said the Lord going to preserve us and keep us alive. It says, forget not the congregation of thy poor forever. Now we're going to show who the poor is real quick, which we kind of explained it, but I'm going to just get this. This is the book of Psalms 40 and 17. This is the Psalm of David. And David is what? The spokesman for Israel, under Yahweh Shah. David represents all of Israel. So whatever David says, in a prophetic sense, it applies to the whole nation. But I am poor and needy. You see that? David said, I am poor and needy. And that's the case for all of Israel today. Yet the Lord thinketh upon me. Thou art my help and my deliverer. So what? The deliverer of the poor, people of Israel. Make no tarrying, O my Lord. So asking the Lord to not delay, don't forget us forever, but to remember us. Now we're going to continue on. This is the book of Psalms 74. This is verse 20. As a matter of fact, we got to hit 19 again to bring it into verse 20. Oh, deliver not the soul of thy turtle dove into the multitude of the wicked. Hey, so no let Esau, Edom, the white man, the wicked kill us off. but preserve us, keep us alive. Forget not the congregation of thy poor forever. What does it mean to not forget us, but to remember? To what? To remember the covenant. Because the covenant represents mercy. Now let's go into verse 20. Have respect unto the covenant, for the dark places of the earth are full of the habitations of cruelty. But yeah, have respect unto the covenant. And another word for respect would be to remember or to think upon. So yeah, have respect unto the covenant. Now let's go into that. This is the book of Micah, chapter 7, verse 20. Thou wilt perform the truth to Jacob and the mercy to Abraham, which thou hast sworn unto our fathers from the days of old. So, how is he going to perform the mercy to Abraham? It would be to the descendants of Abraham, but not all of them. But unto to the seed of the promise, which would be Jacob, which would be the people of Israel today. So the Lord is going to perform the mercy promised to Abraham to the sons of Jacob today. And how is that mercy first shown? By this truth. And that's why when we get this in the book of Psalms, chapter 85, verse 10, it say, mercy and truth are met together. So the Lord had mercy on us by allowing us to come into this truth. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. Hey, so that's that union. As we come back into righteousness, hey, the Lord is going to meet us with peace. So yeah, the truth will be performed to Jacob, that mercy to Abraham, and that mercy is first shown by coming into this truth. And as we come back into righteousness, the Lord will start having, peace with us. But that's only going to be shown towards the elect. Now continuing on, this is the book of Luke, chapter 1. We're going to start at verse 68. So we're going to show even here that mercy will fall on the people of Israel as it was promised from the beginning. Blessed be Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. The Lord is already visiting us and redeeming us in our mind through the Spirit. So there's a mental exodus before the physical exodus takes place, which there will be a second exodus, mainly out of America, but it's going to be worldwide. They have raised up a horn of salvation for us, a power of salvation for us, which will be his people Israel, in the house of his servant David. Because we know Yahweh Shai, who's referred to as the son of David, sprang out of Judah. Continuing on, that we, people of Israel, should be saved from our enemies, that foolish nation of people that blaspheme the Lord, our enemies that want to kill us. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, goes on to say that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. So for the 12 tribes, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, it should be perfectly clear who hates you in these last days. Who want to take away your citizenship? Who want to throw you in concentration camps? Who want to throw you in alligator Alcatraz, where they got nuclear-powered incinerators that could be burning our people alive? Who's dropping you in the middle of the ocean? Or whose laws and policies has always targeted and oppressed you? Look at all of the wickedness and the treachery that's been done, to our ancestors, as well as today. Why is there a time called Jacob's trouble? So it should be perfectly clear who hates the 12 tribes here in the last days. That's who we need to be saved from. To perform the mercy promised to our fathers. So the mercy that we get, it's not nothing that we do on our own. But the mercy was promised from the beginning. Now I'm gonna grab this. You're gonna come to the book of Romans, the 9th chapter, because you can't just work out your own mercy. Like so-called white man think, if you so-called become a servant of the Lord and so-called start praying, you can include yourself in the covenant. You can include yourself in the mercy. But this is Romans 9 and 16. Matter of fact, I might get that in the NLT too. Let me switch Bible apps real quick. This is Romans 9 and 16. Let's see what it look like. Okay. I'm going to get in the KJV first. So then it is not of him that willeth or him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. You see that? Let's get this in the NLT. So it is God who decides to show mercy. We can neither choose it or work for it. So you can't work for your mercy. So you other nations, hey, there's nothing you can do to include yourself in the covenant. So dealing with the people of Israel, we can neither choose or work for our mercy because it was promised from the beginning. Whom the Lord is going to have mercy on was already promised from the beginning. It was already predetermined. So, why do we do our works? To show our faith. Because ultimately, the Lord wants us, you can't work for the mercy, but what's the word? It's kind of like an inheritance. The inheritance is already for you before you get 18, but you can't tap into that inheritance until after you classify it as an adult. That's the same with mercy. The Lord wants us to grow in the faith, grow in the understanding to a certain degree to be eligible for that mercy. So the mercy is already yours, for the elect, but he wants the elect to become eligible for it in a sense, to mature in a certain sense, in a spirit, to receive of that mercy. So back to Luke 1, we'll start at 71 again. That we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. And look, none of the other nations ain't standing up for you against what Esau, Edom, the white man is doing. So the other nations don't love you neither. So-called Chinese, these Asians, Arabs, these Indians, these Africans. Because you don't see none of these Africans being deported. It says to perform the mercy promised to our fathers. So the mercy was already promised. The Lord just required us to come into the truth to show that we have faith before he brings the mercy, and to remember his holy covenant. That's back to the book of Psalm 74:20. Have respect unto the covenant. Remember the covenant. The Lord will remember the covenant on his end by bringing that mercy when we first remember the covenant on our end by returning back to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. It says the oath which he swore to our father Abraham. See that? So the promise or the mercy and salvation was all based off a promise that the Lord made over, thousands of years ago. Ain't nothing that we do now, but it's already been predetermined. So continuing on, this is again Psalm 74:20. It says, again, have respect to the covenant, for the dark places of the earth are full of the habitations of cruelty. Let's get that in the NLT. This is Psalm 74:20 in the NLT. Remember your covenant promises. Why so? For the land is full of darkness and violence. See that? Remember the covenant. In other words, remember the mercy promised to Abraham for the people of Israel, because the earth is covered in darkness and in violence. Why? Because the earth is given into the hand of the wicked, who is the sword. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Now we're going to come here to the book of Luke, chapter 21. Let me see. See if I can find something real quick. Oh shit, I was way off. Matthew 11 and 12. Again, remember the promises of the covenant, because the earth is covered in darkness and in violence. But we know the covenant or that mercy will fall on Israel at the end, specifically the elect. Matthew 11 and 12. And from the days of John the Baptist until now. So until now, going all the way back to John the Baptist, but even going all the way back to the Garden of Eden, the kingdom of heaven suffered violence. So how can the kingdom of heaven suffer violence? No, it would be the people who would inherit the kingdom of heaven based off the promises, which would be the people of Israel. So the kingdom of heaven suffer violence, the people of Israel suffer violence, and the violent take it by force. But again, that's why Psalm 74:20 say, have respect or remember the covenant, for the dark places of the earth are full of the habitations of cruelty. NLT say full of darkness and violence. And that what? And that's because the sword is in power, who would take peace from the earth, cause people to kill one another. So we're going to need that mercy. Now, let's go here. And what proves also too, that America, the world is covered in violence, we're going to get here. This is Revelation 18 and 21. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down. This is dealing with America. That's why it says the dark places of the earth is covered in cruelty or violence. What's the dark place of the earth? That's dealing with America. Let's prove it. I think I can go there real quick. Dang, that's not it. Let me see. We're going to show that it's the land that's referred to as the land of darkness. Book of Job 10 and 22, a land of darkness, as darkness itself and of shadow of death, without any order. America is a place without any order, where the light is as darkness. So America is that land of darkness. Psalm 74 and 20. For the dark places of the earth, that's America, are full of the habitations of cruelty. In America, that land of darkness has covered the whole world in gross darkness. I believe that's Isaiah 60. So the influence of America has spread throughout the whole earth. Darkness, violence, has spread throughout the whole earth. And that's why the Lord got to remember that covenant to bring that mercy. So back to the book of Revelation. Dang, I didn't mean to do that. Revelation 18 and 21. And the mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon, which is America, be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. So America was established on violence, robbery, rape, murder, and lies. So with violence will it fall. And guess what? We all here. So if the Lord gonna throw this place down by violence, he gotta remember that mercy. Or else, hey, we'll be thrown down with it. Isaiah say we would have been in Sodom and Gomorrah if it had not been for the Lord. The fate of Sodom and Gomorrah, that's what's coming to America, but it's gonna be way worse. And that's why when we get this in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 3 and 2. I said chapter 3, verse 2. Habakkuk chapter 3, verse 2. Lord, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. So we heard the report and we believed it. The report of America, which is great Babylon, being thrown down in violence. That's by World War III. But this is concerning the nuclear destruction. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years. Revive, meaning come to life. Also, the scriptures say that the prophecies, they were speaking not lie. So the prophecies will come to life. So we in the days that the works of the Lord is being revived. It's coming to pass. In the midst of the years, make known. It says, in wrath, remember mercy. So when the Lord is throwing Babylon the Great, America down with violence, he's going to remember mercy at the same time. That's the perfect balance of the Lord. Anytime the Lord has brought judgment, destruction, on the flip side of that, there was always mercy shown to a specific people. In the time of the great flood with Noah, while the earth was being flooded, Noah and his family was receiving mercy. Sodom and Gomorrah. The Lord was raining fire on that place. Lot and his family was being shown mercy. Same case here. Hey, shalom to my brother Kabak Shana. Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Barak Adam. And I think the brother Nathan is your, I don't know if y'all cousins or related. Hey, but hey, shalom, Barak Adam. Hey, to you, your cuz, and your house. This is Psalm 74, verse 21. Oh, let not the oppressed return ashamed. Let the poor and needy praise thy name. So again, let not the oppressed return ashamed. And the oppressed would be the people of Israel. And this devil's so wicked. Hey, everybody's oppressed in the last days. Even Edomites, they oppressed too. But that don't mean this is talking about them. This would be the oppressed, meaning the people of Israel. Because despite everybody being oppressed, nobody's oppressed like us. That's spoken about Daniel 9 and 12. There's nothing that's been done under the sun like what was done to the children of Israel. Not to mention, the Lord is not concerned with the other nations anyway. See, that's how you know this is America, a place without any order. You know, that land of darkness. But where we at? So yeah, let not the oppressed return ashamed. Let the poor and needy praise thy name. What does it mean? Let us not return ashamed. Let me see how it's worded in the NLT real quick. Psalm 74:21. Okay, it says, don't let the downtrodden or the oppressed 12 tribes of Israel be humiliated again. So what does it mean to let us not be humiliated again? Let us not return to shame. Hey, because our hope is to be delivered out of captivity, to be saved out the hand of our enemies. So us to be humiliated again or to be ashamed again, it means instead of us being delivered or saved, that we'll be put right back into captivity. How is that going to happen? Hey, through Esau, Edom, the white man's new world order. What that's about is putting us back into slavery. Yeah, we not really free, but how do they want to put us back into slavery? Like putting that microchip on us. Because see, they don't got full control of us, what we do, how we move, how we think, how we live. But with the RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast, that's how they would, in a sense, put us back into slavery again. Because even now, you know, we got a lot of liberties. Hey, we got a lot of things, you know, going for ourselves or that we do that Esau the white man don't know about. But what he wants to do, he put us back into hardcore slavery. Instead of being in chains and yokes of iron, it's going to be a digital chain, a digital yoke of iron. That's you having an RFID microchip to be part of that grid, to be part of the internet, which is a digital net, in which a net you can't escape, you entangled in it. So you a being off the 5G towers, internet towers, phone towers, satellites that can track you, monitor you, see everything you do, how you think, what you say, how you spend your money, how you spend your time. That's us um, being put back in slavery again. For example, when the people of Israel fled when they left out the land of Egypt. They left, but then what happened? Pharaoh pursued them to do what? Take them back into Egypt, to take them back into slavery. And the white man see we raising up, breaking free of his control. What he wants to do? Regain control of us. Which he came to the conclusion the way that he can regain control of the 12 tribes and regain control of the world in general will be by microchipping everybody. And that's what the New World Order is all about. Have respect unto the covenant, my bad, verse 21. Let not the oppressed return the shames. So yeah, the Lord is not going to let him put us back into slavery or captivity. And that's why when we get this, the book of Nahum, chapter 1, we're going to start at verse 7 through verse 9. The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble. You coming into that time of Jacob's trouble. The Lord going to be a stronghold, a fortress, a strong tower, a defense. And he know of them that trust in him, that's the elect. What does it mean to know them? He's going to remember them in the day of trouble. He's going to remember the mercy. He's going to remember his covenant. But with an overrunning flood, he will make an utter end of the place thereof, and darkness shall pursue his enemies. What's that overrunning flood? That's that nuclear fire. Continuing on, verse 9, what do you imagine against the Lord? He will make an utter end. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. You see that? Affliction shall not rise up a second time. Or in other words, oppression. Slavery is not going to happen a second time. Yeah, Esau eating the white man is not putting us back into slavery. You know, he's not going to get a second time. That's why also showing when it says, let not the oppressed return the shames. Well, let's go back to the beginning. This is Exodus 3 and 9. Now therefore, behold, the cry of the children of Israel is come unto me. I have also seen the oppression wherewith the Egyptians oppressed them. So the Lord has always had his eye on the oppression of the children of Israel, never other people. The Lord don't care. But that's why it says, let not the oppressed return the shame. All people can be oppressed, but this word oppressed or oppressed is the nation of people, the people of Israel. Goes on to verse 10 to say, come now, therefore, I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And the Lord has sent forth his prophets here at the end, 144,000, to bring our people out of spiritual Egypt, which is America. Not physically, but bringing the minds of our people out of this spiritual Egypt. Because it all got to happen in the mind first before the Lord physically delivers us out of this place. And what happened for the people of Israel? No matter how much Pharaoh hardened his heart, no matter how much he tried to recapture the people of Israel, no matter how much he pursued them, it happened just as the Lord said. So who was the oppressed back then? The people of Israel. Psalm 74:21, let not the oppressed return to shames. They didn't return back to slavery. They didn't return back to Egypt. We're not going to go back, to hardcore slavery again neither, via the microchips. Esau the white man, he's not going to regain control of us and regain control of our minds and our spirits again neither, via the microchips. No, just as the Lord said, affliction or oppression shall not rise a second time. It's going to happen that way. We're going to be delivered out of here, no matter how bad it start to look. Okay, because it was looking real bad for them coming out of Egypt. Hey, but look how it played out. So we're going to go back to this word real quick. Psalm 74:21, let not the oppressed be turned ashamed. That's the people of Israel going back into slavery. The Lord said it won't happen a second time. It says, let not the poor and needy, hold on, excuse me. Let the poor and needy praise thy name. I did the lesson last week. The poor and the needy in the scriptures would be the children of Israel. Specifically, more so, the elect. Yeah, all of our people are powerless, but the key word would be the needy. We are the needy according to the curses. But let's go back to this word needy real quick. Because this word needy, of course it says to be needy, to be in want. I believe that's Deuteronomy 28:49. You have to serve your enemies in hunger, nakedness, and thirst. Another definition for needy, subject to oppression and abuse. Who's most subject to being oppressed and abused in America? You know, by law enforcement, by the law itself, in court, or by the police. But continuing on, it says, also another definition, it says for needy, general reference to lowest class. So who's lowest in this society? This is the other definition for needy. It says needing help, deliverance from trouble, especially as delivered by the Most High. So we in need of a salvation. But see, 2/3 of our people, they don't believe they in need of salvation. They don't believe that they need Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. But the elect understands that. That's why we refer to as a house of mourning. We need Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. We need to be delivered. Psalms 74:21. Let not the oppressed return ashamed. Let the poor, David says, I am poor and needy. Just talking about the people of Israel. Let the poor and needy praise thy name. So those who need Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, that's ultimately the needy, the elect of Israel, ultimately them who's going to praise his name, not the 2/3 of Israel. Because they believe they got it made here. They believe, you know, they ain't a good case here. Continuing on. This is Psalm 74. Through 23. Arise, O Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Plead thine own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. We went into that foolish man. Remember Job 30 said the children of fools. We're going to go into that. NLT, it says a foolish nation of people. We're going to go back into that. Forget not the voice of thine enemies, the tumult of those that rise up against thee, increase of daily. So we're going to get more into that. So let's continue. Let's get this word. We're going to look up one of these words real quick. Arise, plead, cause. Okay. Starting with verse 22. Arise, O Lord, plead thine own cause. So, yeah, it said to arise, meaning what? This is the book of Psalms 7 and 6. It says, arise, O Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, in thine anger. So the Lord is rising up in anger. Lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies. It says, in the wake for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. So the Lord is arising in anger to bring judgment to the enemies of the house of David. which will be the other nations, including the 2/3 of the house of Israel. So the Lord is arising in anger, not in happiness or in love and affection. No, the Lord is coming back pissed off, first and foremost. So going back, Psalm 74:22, arise. He's arising in anger to bring judgment. It says, oh God, plead thine own cause. See that? Plead thine own cause. Let's look up this word cause. So cause, it says a controversy. It says a dispute. It says a case at law. So another word for cause would be controversy. So again, it says, arise, O Lord, plead thine own cause, or plead thy own controversy. Now let's go into that controversy. Matter of fact, let me look up this word real quick itself. A controversy, it says disagreement, pretty much a problem. So again, arise, O Lord, plead thine own cause. Another word for cause would be controversy. Pretty much the Lord got a problem that he wants to settle. Now we're going to get into that. This is the book of Jeremiah 25 and 30. We're going to get into that controversy. We're going to show who is with and what it's about and what the Lord going to do about it. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 25. This is verse 30. Therefore prophesy thou against them all these words, and saying to them, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai shall war from on high, and utter his voice from his holy habitation. His voice is being uttered now from his people. He shall mightily war upon his habitation. He shall give a shout, as they that tread the grapes against all the inhabitants of the earth. Oh, this is against all the inhabitants of the earth. A noise shall come even to the ends of the earth, for the Lord have a controversy with the nations. So the Lord got a controversy, a problem, a dispute, a cause against the nations. He will plead with all flesh. He will give them that are wicked to the sword, saith the Lord. So the Lord got a controversy or a problem with the nations. And what he going to do about it? He's going to judge all flesh by the sword. So now we're going to get more into this controversy. As a matter of fact, I'm going to look up something real quick. Even the word cause. We looked at it in Hebrew, which is a controversy. But let's look up the word cause itself. The word cause, it says the reason, grounds, justification. So when it says plead thy own cause, it goes into, the reasoning, the grounds, or the justification of what the Lord is going to do to the nations. The destruction and the bloodshed that the Lord is bringing to the earth, there's a cause for it. There's a reason for it. To the people, it's going to be senseless bloodshed and violence from the Lord. Hey, but the Lord has a reason for it. There's a cause for it. There's a controversy behind it. In some of these definitions, it says reasonable grounds for doing, thinking, or feeling something. That's a controversy. So we're going to get why the Lord is going to do something and the reason for doing it. The way that the Lord thinks and feels about it. So we're going to get into that, in which we got that he has a controversy against the nations. So let's continue there. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 1. And we're going to get through 8. For behold, in those days, which are now, and in that time, when I shall bring back the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. when the Lord will begin to deliver us out of captivity, first it happens in the mind. So we in them days. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's a region of the Middle East. Nations are being gathered there, that's for war. So this is concerning World War III. And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel. You see that? We got Jeremiah 25:31 that he has a controversy with the nations and he's going to plead with them by the sword. Now we know he's going to plead with the nations for his people Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. How they sold us into slavery, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. So how they scattered us among the nations through the slave trade, and how they took over the Holy Land and destroyed ancient Jerusalem. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Let's get that in the NLT. And this is the reasonable grounds that the Lord is going to plead with all nations by the sword. This is the reason for the bloodshed that the Lord is bringing to the earth. This is Joel 3:2, or 3:3 in the NLT. They threw dice to decide which of my people would be their slaves. They traded boys to obtain prostitutes and sold girls for enough wine to get drunk. So we was just a plaything to Esau, Edom, the white man. They did whatever they did to us, whatever they felt like, whatever they could imagine. Yeah, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly, and speedily, will I return recompense upon your own head. So what this is saying, in simpler words in the NLT, are you trying to take revenge on me? How did they take vengeance on the Lord? By setting us into slavery. Bargaining on our people, having auctions on our people, bug breaking us, cutting the wombs open, taking out the babies, experimenting on our people. Are you trying to take revenge on me? If you are, then watch out. I will strike you swiftly and pay you back everything you have done. And the Lord is going to tip you. He's going to pay you back double. Because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried them into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. So they took the gold out the temple, but ultimately, we that fine gold that was taken out the temple. The Lord's people who was taking out the promised lands. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold into the Grecians. That's Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. They the Grecians. Because those Africans, the ancient Tyre, Zidon, not Palestine, but the Philistines who sold us to the Edomites, the Grecians. That ye might remove them far from their border, to remove us far from the Holy Land. That's why we went from Jerusalem to Northwest Africa to America. And I think that's the book of Micah 4:10. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. So everybody that had their hand in the transatlantic slave trade. But really, all of our captivities, the Lord gonna return that recompense unto them. The Lord gonna pay them back. NLT it says, but I will bring them back from all the places to which you sold them. And I will pay you back for everything you have done. So the Lord gonna take us back to the promised land from everywhere we were scattered worldwide. Verse 8, and I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord has spoken it. So the Lord gonna give us the Grecians, Africans, the Lord gonna give us them to be our slaves. And then we gonna sell them to the other nations, who's also serving us. So our slaves are going to have slaves. And Esau, Edom, not going to even be able to speak a word to us. Because our slaves going to be the other nations, and then their slaves going to be the Edomites. And all of them got to obey the children of Israel and Judah. So the slaves going to have slaves. And Esau not going to be able to speak to us directly. He's going to have to speak through his various slave masters, who we're going to be masters over. So yeah. And that's the recompense that the Lord is bringing to the other nations. So that's the reason, or the cause, the reasonable grounds that the Lord is bringing great bloodshed to the earth. And what he's going to do about it, plead with them by the sword, judge all flesh by the sword. That's the bloodshed. To that, all the other nations, they're going into slavery as well. So that's the cause that the Lord is going to plead. Back to Psalm 74:22. Arise, O God, arise in anger and in judgment. Plead thine own cause, and that would be for his people Israel. That's a controversy that the Lord has against the nations. But not only is the Lord going to plead our cause, for our sakes, but the Lord has his own personal reasons for doing these things as well. So we're going to get into that next, I guess. Yep, we're going to get into that next. The Lord got his own personal reason for doing these things. He's not just doing it, for us alone. He got his own personal reasons. We're going to get into that. So back to Psalm 74:22. Arise, O Lord, plead thine own cause. We got into the first reason why the Lord is going to do these things for his people Israel. Now this is the second reason. Remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. That foolish man is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. We went into that in the book of Job 30:5-8, but we'll get it again. Job 30:5-8. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. So who's the caveman? Damn. Among the bushes they brayed, under the nettles they were gathered together. They were children of fools, children of base men. They were vilder than the earth. See that? Children of fools. This is the foolish nation of people. The people who sold their birthright. So yeah, this is dealing with Esau, Edom, the white man. What it say? Arise, O Lord, plead thine own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. That foolish man will be Esau. They reproach the Lord daily. How so? By speaking blasphemies against the people of Israel. Speaking how we're destroyed, we desolate. We can't help ourselves. Nobody else is going to help us. The Lord don't care. The Lord doesn't watch. The Lord doesn't see. The Lord has given us to the white man for them to destroy us. That's how the foolish man reproach the Lord daily. So pretty much, whatever happens to the children of Israel, hey, the Lord's name is on that. And whatever, people out there, hey, whatever, hey, whatever happens to your children, your name is on that. Something happens to your children, it makes the parents look bad. So us being destroyed as a people and the nations walking all over us, ultimately, to the other nations, that's making Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah look bad. That's why I say, remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. Now we're going to get some more into that. So we're gonna get Psalms, because also even in verse 23, How it starts off by saying how the foolish man reproaches the Lord daily. Verse 23, it says, forget not the voice of thine enemies, the multitude of those that rise up against thee, increase of daily. So the foolish man reproacheth the Most High daily, then the voice of the Lord's enemies, those that rise up against the Lord, in increase of daily. So we're going to get into the enemies and how they rise up against the Lord. And then we're going to get how the enemy, the foolish man, reproacheth the Lord. This is the book of Psalms 83. We're going to get 1 through 6. I'm going to get it in the NLT, which is also a psalm or a prophecy of Asaph. Oh God, do not be silent, do not be deaf, do not be quiet. Oh Lord, don't you hear the uproar of your enemies? So the Lord has enemies, and it's going to show who they are. Don't you see that your arrogant enemies are rising up? How do they rise up against the Lord? They devise crafty schemes against your people. They policies, they laws, they executive orders that's written to target and oppress us. They conspire against your precious ones. Come, they say, let us wipe out Israel as a nation. That's always been the goal, to exterminate the Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, which would be the lost 12 tribes of Israel. We will destroy the memory of his existence, so they want to wipe us off the face of the earth. It says, yes, this was their unanimous decision. They signed a treaty as allies against you. So you rise up against the Lord by rising up and trying to destroy his people. Because whatever happens to us, the name of the Lord is on that. It says, these Edomites and Ishmaelites. See that? It lists the Edomites first. That's a foolish nation. You speak blasphemies against the Lord people. You sold your birthright. And then they the ones leading the charge and trying to cut off Israel. It listed them first. The Edomites, Ishmaelites, Moabites. Start listing all the nations. And with that, you can include the 2/3 of the people of Israel. But that's Psalms 74:23. Forget not the voice of thine enemies, the multitude of those that rise up against thee, increaseth continually. So yeah, the enemies will be the nations who's confederate, who's joined together unto Esau the white man and cutting off Israel. And they think they accomplished the goal. Because back to Psalm 74:22, it says, remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. That's in the book of Lamentations. Because when we get the book of Lamentations, 2 and 15 through 16, it say this, which I might get it in the NLT. Get in the NLT. Matter of fact, I'm going to get it in the KJV first. All that pass by, clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem. So behind closed doors and in their heads, when they see us in a destroyed state, they clap their hands and shake their heads at the people of Israel, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? Like, is this the Lord's chosen people? These are the 12 tribes? And that's the response that people have when we bring out this truth. Y'all the holy people? Y'all the Lord's chosen? And then it's no surprise, because look at our people. Now, in the NLT, for verse 16, all your enemies. We went into that in Psalms 83. The Ishmaelites, Amalekites, Moabites, Edomites, those who confederate and cutting off Israel. All your enemies mock you. They scoff and snarl at you. We have destroyed her at last. We have long waited for this day. It's finally here. So the nations think they finally conquered the people of Israel. They finally got the Lord to cast off his people Israel. that the Lord no longer cares what happens to his people Israel. That the Lord is not going to defend his people no more. That's how they feel. We finally destroyed her at last. But, that's Psalm 74:22. Remember how the food is made, reproacheth thee daily. And we're going to get this back again. Ezekiel 35, straight to the point, 12 and 13. Thou shalt know that I am the Lord, and that I have heard all the blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying they are laid desolate, they are given us to consume. Like the Lord cast off his people, we can destroy them now. We can exterminate them now. We can do what we please to them now. Thus with your mouth you have boasted against me. Because again, when you speak against his people, you speak against the Most High himself. It says, and have multiplied your words against me, I have heard them. But that's Psalm 74:12. Remember how the food is made, reproach of thee daily. And that's why that verse opens up by saying, arise, O Lord, plead thine own cause. So the first cause that we covered is how the Lord is going to judge the nations for the sake of his people Israel. How they sold us into slavery, oppressed us, and tried to exterminate us. But again, the Lord has his own reasoning for bringing judgment to the nations as well. Now we see how they speak blasphemies against the Lord by speaking against his people, thinking they finally conquered the Lord's people. Because in doing so, that's like saying they defeated the Lord himself. Because the Lord's supposed to be on our side, he's supposed to defend us. So if they conquered us, they feel as if they defeated the Most High himself. So that's why Psalm 74:22 say, arise, O Lord, plead thine own cause. So again, the Lord got his own reasoning for the destruction that he about to bring to the earth. Yeah, it's about us. Hey, but the Lord got his own reasoning too. And that's why we're going to get this. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 48, we're going to get 9 through 11. Which I'm going to get it in both versions. So Isaiah 48 verse 9, for my name's sake. The Lord said, for my name's sake, for my own reasoning, I will defer mine anger. And for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Let's get this in the NLT. It says, yet for my own sake and for the honor of my name, I will hold back my anger and not wipe you out. And that's what the nations want to do. They want the Lord to wipe us out for sinning against them. Because in doing so, they say, hey, we destroyed her. We got the Lord to destroy his people. And that would bring shame to his name because we're supposed to be his people. But the Lord said for his own name's sake and for his own honor, his own reputation, he's going to hold back his anger and not cut us off. That's why the Lord had mercy on us and gave us this truth here in these last days. Verse 10, you're going to get the KJV first. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. So ultimately, what the Lord has been doing to us was to make us perfect in the mind, to get our minds right, so that what? When he does bring destruction to the earth, we understand why. So the Lord wanted us to get our minds right. We will never be perfect in the flesh. Verse 11, for my own sake, even for my own sake will I do it. For how should I pollute? For how should my name be polluted? The Lord is saying, for my own sake, for my own reputation, I'm going to have mercy on my people and not cut them off. Why would I pollute my own name? Why would I bring shame to my own name? And I would not give my glory to another. Now let's get this 9 and 11 in the NLT. Yet for my own sake and for the honor of my name, I will hold back my anger and not wipe you out. I will rescue you for my sake, yes, for my own sake. I will not let my reputation be tarnished. I will not share my glory with idols. See that? That's Psalm 74:22. Arise, O God, plead thine own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproacheth thee daily. So daily they reproach the name of the Lord and speaking against the people of Israel. So the Lord is going to have mercy and deliver us for his own sake first, for his own name, his own honor, his own reputation first. And beside that, he's going to rescue us, for our sake, because we his people, based on the mercy promised to our forefathers, that oath that was made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So showing that the Lord got his own reason for doing these things. Because even going back, let me show this real quick. This is the book of Exodus chapter 5. We're going to get 1 and 2 straight to the point. Afterward, Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, thus says Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, who is the Lord, that I shall obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Lord, neither would I let Israel go. So Pharaoh said, hey, who the hell is Yahweh? Who the hell is the God of Israel? I don't know Yahweh. I'm not gonna let you people go to serve him. And that was Pharaoh reproaching the name of the Lord back then. And in a sense, but to a greater extent, Esau Edom does that today. And then when you read the book of Exodus, when the story plays out, I could probably find it real quick. In Exodus chapter 14. Verse 17, it reads, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, that they shall follow them, and I will give me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his hosts, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. Another word for honor would be glory or respect. So when the Lord said, I will give me honor upon Pharaoh, the Lord was saying, I'm gonna give my honor, I'm gonna give my respect from Pharaoh. He's not gonna blaspheme my name any longer. And that's what the Lord gonna do here at the end. He's gonna give respect. What they say in the world, hey, put respect on my name. Hey, the Lord gonna bring respect and honor to his name once again by bringing the judgments. And this is the book of John 12 and 28. And how did the Lord get honor from Pharaoh? By killing them. This is John 12 and 28, straight to the point. Father, glorify thy name. Then there came a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it. When did he first glorify his name? Well, you can't say first, but one of the most notable times, going back to the first Exodus. He glorified his name on the earth when he took down Pharaoh in ancient Egypt, because the fame and the glory and the dread of the Most High was spread throughout all of the earth. All of the earth was shook. They was in fear when they heard that the people of Israel was near. Why? Because they knew Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua was with them. They heard all of the works of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua in the land of Egypt. John 12:28, Father, glorify thy name. Then there came a voice from heaven saying, I have glorified it and will glorify it again. So the Lord gonna glorify his name again here in the earth. He's gonna bring fame, glory, and respect to his name here in the earth once again. Like he did in ancient Egypt, for what he's gonna do to spiritual Egypt, which is America. That's why throughout the scriptures, it'll often say, then they shall know that the Lord hath done it. NLT reads, I have already brought glory to my name, and I will do it again. And it's happening now with the truth. We bringing glory or fame or respect to the name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah in the earth first. Hey, but what the ministry can't teach, judgments will. So, hey, Shalom. Hey, Khan, hey, yeah, that's right. Hey, and with the brother Kabak Shana, hey, we all brothers through the spirit. When we all part of that 144,000. You know, the first set of spirits that was created by Yahweh Shah. God damn, bro. And the brother Yawanathan, hey, the brother Yahweh, hey, Shalom, Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Brakadam. Now, blood brothers, hey, but all brothers through the spirit. But what and all part of that 144,000. So let's give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. So that's the conclusion of Psalm 74, a psalm of Asaph or a prophecy of Asaph. Double honors to the elders of GMS who taught us this truth. Honors to the elect. We'll be out tomorrow, Lord willing. Till next time, Shalom. And Shalom to that brother Ed Cooper. And Shalom.